Joining us, as I said, you can see him on the NBC Sports Philly pre- and post-game show for the Eagles, Ron Jaworski. What's up, Jaws?
All good. Getting ready for the Vikings.
So, Jaws, I am going to ask you the same thing we have asked. We have asked all of our experts this week. We asked Jordan Mailata this week, and you are our last expert of the week. Some say the most important. I am going to ask you, what is one thing the Eagles are doing particularly well right now that we can sort of hang our hat on moving forward into the season?
One thing they're doing well is procurement of talent. I think it's still a very talented football team not playing up to the level of that talent.
Okay, I'll take it. At least you answered quick. Everybody else, even Jordan, I said, what's one thing you're doing well? He goes, whew, that's a tough one. So,
well, because the standard has been so high. After last year, we have a vision of what this team is supposed to look like. And they should have that same vision that we as analysts and fans have and to play to that standard. And, the eyeball test, you don't need to be a former NFL quarterback or a former NFL linebacker, to say something's wrong. This team is not playing up to their ability. That's obvious to me.
Let me ask you this then, because we were just discussing this last segment. They went through, it seemed like, every exercise to try to say, we are not defending champs, we're not defending champs. The Super Bowl was last year, so on and so forth. And it doesn't seem to have worked. Do you think, maybe reversing it and a reminder about what they were able to do and what they were able to accomplish and how dominant, I guess specifically in this case, the offensive line and the defense was, do you think maybe the opposite tact, at least at this point, as a reminder of what they're capable of, could be something that could help?
Yeah, I think there's the potential of that being able to help. But no matter what Nick says or the organization says, no one's going to forget we won the Super Bowl last year. We're the world champions. You can't just discount that and say, oh, let's go out and play football, but we're not the world champions. Because I'll guarantee you this, every team on the schedule knows the Eagles are the world champions. If you don't bring the A game like the New York Giants did against us last Thursday night, you're going to get your butt handed to you. And then so, it is a new season. We get it. Yeah, there are new players. We get it. But, the standard has been set as a world champion that, embrace that. Embrace that we're the world champions. And because you know what? The other teams are embracing it, too, and they want to beat us badly.
Jaws, you watch the games again. You watch the tape. There's been a lot of conversation over the last week and a half about the quote, predictability of the offense and the fact that because that is so, it is making it more difficult for them to succeed on offense. Have you seen that, and do you think it's an issue?
No, I don't. I don't. I think this team is still incredibly talented. The word everyone uses is execution, and they're not executing properly. It's that simple. Now, you could say it's one guy here, one guy there, and we all know in football, to be successful, 11 players, 11 guys on each side of the football for a given play must work hand in hand to be successful. If one player fails at his job, the play is blown up. It doesn't work. It's not that simple, but it is. That players have to work together, and right now they're not working in harmony. I just don't see it. The offensive line, and I preach this probably for the last decade. It has been the best offensive line, the best coached offensive line in football, a dominant offensive line. They just haven't been. And I know Lane's got the stinger on the shoulder, and Mekhi Becton's not there, which to me has been somewhat overlooked. He was a dominant physical human being, Mekhi Becton was last year when he was here. So I see that as a big hole because he may not have got all his blocks, but Saquon could run around him and get open and get through a crack. That's how good he was. So I think there's a loss of Mekhi Becton hurt. And obviously Landon's been hurt, and you've had injuries and Cam's been hurt. You've had some injuries on the offensive line. But they haven't played as well as I've seen them play in the past. Those offensive linemen must work as one, and they just haven't been. And quite honestly, Saquon hasn't been getting to the outside like he did last year. That jump cut that he was so good at. I just haven't seen it being effective this year. So it is a long way to go in the season. Adjustments will be made. But it's not the same team that we saw playing the second half of last season and in the playoffs.
Josh, you look at this mini bye week, and it can be beneficial to both the players from a physical standpoint, reset mentally, but also for the coaches, getting a chance to self-evaluate and look at some things that they can do differently. You feel like this mini bye week came at the right time, and this is something that they could take advantage of and sort of reset going up here to Minnesota Sunday.
Mike, I agree with you 100%. There's absolutely no doubt about it. The coaching staff needed to make some changes to tweak things. They get the time to do it. The players are getting 3 or 4 days off. The coaches are not. I'll guarantee you, they were burning the midnight oil when they got back from Philadelphia last Thursday night, to try to get this corrected. So, I think from that perspective, yes, you can do a deep dive in evaluating your personnel, evaluating your schemes, and make the changes, because you do have a few days extra time where you can make the changes where normally you wouldn't have that time. So, yes, I agree with you 100%. The coaches really could use the time off. No, it's not time off. They could use the time off from the players, but they're going to be working on it.
So, their calling card, as you have mentioned, that has been the offensive line and the run game. Given the fact that, given the injury, the new players, all of those things, from an identity standpoint, do they need to consider, I'm not saying become a pass-first team, but the idea of them being this dominant running team, do they need perhaps a different identity to become a more successful offense, given the trouble they've had getting that off the ground?
I think the team that you play dictates how you should play offensively. Basically, if you got a team that is a very good defensive line, maybe weak in the secondary, you attack that secondary. And the same vice versa. If you got a great secondary and a weak defensive line, you attack with the running game. So I don't think there's a particular way to go. If I would form a quick opinion on what I've seen, particularly after the Giants game, I was really disappointed going through the tape of the Giants game. I thought for the first time in a long time, I thought we were physically beaten. The Giants, and they have some good, it's the NFL, everyone has good players, but I didn't sense like we were playing a violent game of football. And let's be realistic here. Football is a violent game, and the stronger man's usually going to win. And I felt that we got pushed around a little bit. I think we got bullied a little bit by the New York Giants, and that just hasn't happened in a long, long time. So I think the lesson that should be learned from the Eagles in that matchup against the Giants, where they pushed us around. Scatterman was banging people around. Just doing things differently, and attitude-type plays that they were running were having success against us. And I think that's the one thing that we have to address this week against Minnesota, is to be more physical and dominate from a physical standpoint.
Yeah, that seems to be the message coming out of the locker room as well, particularly from the defensive players, and you listen to the offensive line, where you're going to get the most physical play happening. That is that they have either been the team, because it seems like they're in a better place mentally. We'll see what they look like physically when they go out there Sunday. Just your thoughts real quick on the quarterback moving forward, his play, and how much that impacts what they're going to be able to do Sunday up against this Brian Flores defense.
Yeah, Brian Flores has a great reputation as a schemer and a designer. He is very, very good. He didn't have success in Miami as a head coach, but wherever he's been as a defense coordinator, he's been very, very good. So this is going to be one of those games where there's kind of the mental approach is just as important from an offensive perspective. You can talk about play calling, all those things, but I think the key is you got to be alert for the type of scheming that he does, like a Todd Bowles kind of guy, like New York did last week. They still, hey, when things work against a team, you're going to see it for a few weeks, because once it's on tape, the next 4 games, people are going to break it down. And Todd Bowles did a really good job with his zone blitz schemes. The Giants did with a 4-man rush. Are still finding a way to bring a third-level defender or a second-level defender and create pressure with only a 4-man rush. So I think you'll see that in this matchup as well from the Vikings and Flores. It's what he likes to do. So we not only have to be physical, which I think you'll see that. I think the guys have heard enough about it all week where they're going to get back to their physical side. But this is also a game they're going to have to be very well prepared mentally.
Jaws, the Eagles have not had very much success getting to the quarterback from a defensive standpoint. You would hope they get Nolan Smith back. With the trade deadline approaching, if you were given a choice, if they said we're going to get a stable CB2 or we're going to get a good edge player, which do you think helps the Eagles more?
Well, speaking as an old quarterback edge rusher,
yeah.
One thing quarterbacks hate is quick pressure, and that's where the edge rusher comes from off that edge, and that's a quick pressure. So I think it's an area that they really must address, and I am sure Howie Roseman is scouring, the waiver wires and trade opportunities that might be out there, because I think it's been probably the one thing that has probably stood out to me the most is we're not getting that quick pressure on the quarterback. And quite honestly as well, we're not getting the push up the middle that I think is absolutely necessary. All
right, Charles. Sunday, Eagles-Vikings. The Eagles facing an old friend, and it was announced Carson Wentz will be starting. What do you? What is your prediction for Sunday's game?
Well, first of all, Carson's playing good football. He's thrown 5 touchdown passes and a couple interceptions, completing 69% of his passes. He has a tendency to hold on to the ball too long, so this should give us an opportunity to get some pressure on him. But I still think I think the Eagles got their wake-up call last week against the Giants. I think they win this one in Minnesota 23-20, guys.
I'll tell you, we need a win in the worst way. Need a win in the worst way.
I'm tired of talking negative.
Yes, yeah. And especially, man, if they play on Thursday night, they're going to have to win those games because I can't do
10 days.
I can't do 10 days of beating up on them after a game like Thursday.
I am with you. Too much time to analyze.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Jaws. Thanks as always.
All right, brother.
All right, thanks, guys. Go Birds.
Yep.
Go Birds.